Welcome back to a brand new No BS crypto news video where I bring you crypto news every day in the most no BS kind of way. Today, everyone, we have some Bitcoin and crypto news relating to mass adoption. It's come at a good time. Typically, good and bad news does come at good times, of course, on the general market sentiment sense, because the ETFs are right around the corner, like literally a couple days away. And of course, we're going to have good news to follow. So with that all being said, soak it up, listen in, and let's begin. So starting off here with the Bitcoin heat map, as you can see, Bitcoin is up at almost 47,000. Actually, it went over $47,000 moments ago. So of course, the whole entire map is green. It's crazy. Like the last week, we've been green, red, like either one or the other. It's insane. But of course, I think this is due to the ETFs coming on board. And as we all know, it just takes one good or bad article in crypto to be sent out to send the market in the opposite way. And so all the news today is good, which is definitely going to help, okay? So the top gainers and losers, we have Helium, Bonk, ICP, Celestia, and Bitcoin SV taking the spot. Good to see Helium pushing it. Of course, one of the recent reports we saw a few days ago was that DePIN, or decentralized physical infrastructure projects like Helium, are going to be taking the spotlight moving into 2024 and 2025 due to, of course, the advancements with AI and how they work really well together. So this is obviously not a shock anymore. I think this is definitely going to be one of the bigger narratives in the bull run. We also see Clayton, GMT, and XLR down. These were some of the bigger movers. I do want to point out though, I like to give little lessons on these market updates before we get into the news, because you have to learn the lessons now if you're going to learn them at all, because imagine this times 100 in the bull run. So Clayton, of course, was a project that recently kind of started blowing up with the rest of the market, basically in November/December, ran up. Now, I do know some people that didn't know about Clayton beforehand and FOMO'd in. Now, of course, we're back down to the same levels. Now, this could happen for any project. Yes, I do want to say that, but keep in mind, this is why you don't get FOMO. This is why you don't buy projects that you don't know about and you get that feeling of, oh, I've got to get in because it's pumping up a lot right now and all these YouTube videos and articles are coming out about it. You don't do that. Stick with your guns unless you, of course, know about the project and want to make an educated swap. Now, our first article today is in regards to Bitcoin adoption, one of the many Bitcoin adoption articles today. Nebraska is looking to bring on board Bitcoin mining on, I guess, the residential level. So the Blockchain Basics Act would allow individuals to host blockchain nodes and conduct crypto mining operations in residential properties without any license requirements. You might be thinking, Karen, why would there need to be a license requirement to run a Bitcoin node? Well, because of noise, right? They mention it in this article, but for those who haven't or have no idea how loud a Bitcoin miner is, it's almost equivalent, I forget if it's more or just less than your regular vacuum cleaner. So you know how annoying it is when your parents vacuum the house when you used to wake up in the mornings? Imagine one of these things running 24/7. The bill aims to establish regulations to promote a safe and legal cryptocurrency mining, holding, and trading environment for citizens in Nebraska. All operations would also be subject to compliance with local noise ordinances. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Of course, this isn't amazing news, but it most definitely is a good step in the right direction. Again, never ceases to amaze me. Always good articles surface around adoption or particular altcoins when they're pumping or when they are about to pump, when there is an anticipation for a specific event, typically Bitcoin. Honduras also bringing on a different type of Bitcoin adoption. A particular area, a special zone, as they say here, officially recognizes it as a unit of account. I'm not too sure what this particular zone is. Obviously, you've never heard of it before, but they have enabled Bitcoin to be used to measure the market value of goods and services. This is a monumentous step, okay? Now, I get it, it's in a particular zone in a very small country, but you know, it's good to see that it is being adopted in this way. And, you know, this is always a test bed or at least a proof of concept for a much bigger possible outcome in the future as well. Again, we put these sort of small pieces together over the period, and then all of a sudden, when there's a massive article in the next 12 months, we can say, hey, we knew about this stuff 12 months ago. Also, Japan's e-commerce giant Mercari, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, plans to accept Bitcoin payments. So Mercari is basically an online flea market, right? Like a bazaar. You know, I sell, you buy, so on and so forth, like a garage sale essentially. And these guys are looking to accept Bitcoin payments. They are, of course, going to be the middleman between those payments. They have apparently a lot of nuances to still figure out, but this is still a big step. Actually, if we come right down to the bottom here, they reported 2.8 billion yen or $19 million in profit in the third quarter of 2023. Now, $19 million, when you stack it up to some of these big companies, it ain't that much. But remember, it's profit, not revenue. This is a big, big thing, okay? So these aren't some sort of run-of-the-mill, small mom and pop sort of store. This is the real deal. So this might bring a lot of demand for Bitcoin, which is ideal. Now, moving past Bitcoin's adoption, let's look at crypto, more specifically DeFi adoption. So the CFTC advisory advanced recommendations urging a timely focus on the DeFi. This is some big stuff, right? Some say this is the first substantial report on DeFi by a government advisory committee. Hear this out. The report includes recommendations for policymakers such as increasing knowledge around DeFi, the enhancements of timeliness and effectiveness of enforcement, as well as assessing existing federal and state regulatory frameworks of DeFi and finding where regulations need to be expanded to assess risks. So essentially, they're just looking to regulate DeFi, but that's a good thing because they've had such a focus on centralized exchanges. Now that DeFi is growing and growing every bull market, I think they're finally thinking to themselves, right, we have to, of course, address this now. And it's just good to see there have been a few reports out, particularly by large names like Van Eck, who have put a specific weight on the DeFi market for 2024. Actually, I was quite bearish on DeFi. Now I'm slightly bullish, you could say, because of that report. There's a lot of advancements coming out, particularly for Uniswap and a few other protocols that will allow institutional investors to come in as KYC'd customers and leverage DeFi, okay? And there is reasons why you would want to leverage DeFi, even when you do KYC. So this is big, and I think the CFTC, more specifically the US government, will eventually come to realize DeFi is most definitely a big player. I think as Bitcoin and as we find more adoption generally, that will then come. More Bitcoin news today. This is a bit different from the more bullish adoption news. We have someone spending $66,000 to inscribe data onto Bitcoin, but no one knows what it says. No one knows who did it either. This person, this psychopath, or maybe we'll see what it obviously comes out at, but spent 1.5 Bitcoin, about $66,000, to inscribe almost 9 megabytes of encrypted data. And this report came out one day ago, but I thought it was worth mentioning because we had a report today from someone also inscribing some data onto Bitcoin at a very close, maybe even the exact same, not saying it's the same person, amount of data onto Bitcoin, okay? So SNES, or Super Nintendo Entertainment System Emulator, inscribed onto Bitcoin by a company called Ninja Alert. So NFT analytics platform Ninja Alerts has inscribed a Super Nintendo Entertainment System Emulator onto the Bitcoin network. The project aims to enable users to play games in their browser across ordinal explorers and marketplaces while helping to preserve classic video games. So I watched a video on this. There's a video link down here somewhere, and they uploaded, I think, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a whole bunch of other games, I think 4 or 5 other games, in hopes of storing or restoring the old classic games, or at least keeping them in a place that's going to be there throughout history, right? Somewhere where no one can obviously delete it. So this was interesting because these guys actually uploaded almost 10 megabytes worth of data onto Bitcoin, basically, right, over these inscriptions. Now, if you recognize down here, remember, this company over here inscripted about 9 megabytes, right? So very close. This is about 9 megabytes. This is just under 10 megabytes. So not quite the same, but interesting. Very interesting indeed. So look, I don't know if you are someone who agrees with me on this or disagrees with me, but you guys know by now, I think people messing with Bitcoin in this way, it ain't it. It ain't it. Now, you can spend tens of thousands of dollars and inscript whatever you want onto a Satoshi. That's up to you. That's your own discretion. I just don't think it's healthy for the network in the long run. But hey, interesting. I like their use case. I like the reason why they did this, but let me know down below what you think about it. And lastly, today, Starknet approves vote to add ability to use STRK token for paying transaction fees. Now, STRK or Starknet is one of many layer 2 solutions on Ethereum, looking to provide some sort of roll-up feature to scale Ethereum. Of course, Ethereum is now more so a settlement layer, somewhere where you store things. Layer 2s help scale the network to allow people to use it for many different things like DeFi games, so on. Starknet, of course, is a new one, but these guys, like many others, typically only had used Ethereum for their gas fee model. In this case, using their own token will be good because when the token does release and they do have a planned airdrop, it will allow people to, of course, accrue it for appreciation of the token, which is what we want. We want utility. Utility equals absorption. Absorption equals price going up. Okay. When I say absorption, I mean people taking the token out of supply. So this upgrade will have support for transactions with Starknet's native token, in addition to still being able to use Ether. The upgrade is expected to go live this Wednesday, which is actually when these Bitcoin ETFs are supposedly supposed to be approved. However, the activation of STRK token payments will be delayed until the token becomes transferable at a later date. The network's V13 upgrade is expected to cut down on transaction costs and network performance as well. It is projected to potentially reduce transaction fees by 25 to 50%, the team said, which is a substantial change. I wish Ethereum did that, right? So Starknet plans to distribute 1.8 billion tokens as user awards and rebates later this year, potentially including a community airdrop. It's well known now that Starknet will likely have an airdrop, so this, of course, is good for all you people. You might want to hold the token a bit longer, of course, because the STRK token will be required to be, well, not required, but will be used in part with Ether for transaction fees as well. So big stuff all around. Again, crypto adoption is peaking. A lot of these big articles are coming out now at a very good time. You'll notice being in crypto long enough, if it's a negative narrative, right, if everyone's, oh my God, bearish, there's going to be bad news articles that flushes to the surface, of course, because it just draws in more clicks. More clicks is more ad revenue for these companies. And of course, if it's bullish, there's going to be more bullish things that comes and floats to the surface. So keep an eye out for, I guess, an article that goes against the grain, because sometimes there usually is an under sort of current narrative that is forming where the retail money doesn't typically like to look. With that being said, thank you so much. Drop a like on the video if you've made it this far, and I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye.